So again, thank you all so much for joining us for the session. We think you're going to find this quite compelling. So what we're here to talk to you a little bit about is how ESFM, one of our longest clients from Nudge in this space, what they were successfully able to do to invert the communication model to deliver better outcomes on their business. I'm Kyle Arnold. I'm the Vice President of Business Development at Nudge. And what I do is I manage our facilities management and commercial real estate division strategy, make sure our clients are maximizing their investment in us. Been around facilities management for, almost 2 decades, starting out at college. I ran FM operations at various military installations around the world before transitioning to a client to many prominent global FM providers. And then one day waking up and go, you know what, I want to sleep in a little bit. I'm very attracted to technology. So I jumped into digital. And that's what led me here. And I actually had the opportunity to work alongside David and Andrea as the lead of digital strategy to help bring digital into their space. So that's my background. And David, love to hand it over to you.
So my name's David Hogland. I'm the president of ESFM. We're part of Compass Group, and I'll show you some stats later on. I've been with Compass for 20 years, and my career came in a different approach to Kyle. I started as an apprentice-trained pipefitter welder, and then just came through the ranks to where I am now, and again, been with Compass for 20 years. So with that, I'm going to hand you over to Andrea.
Thank you. I'm a little short for a stool, so. Okay. Well, thank you for coming today. Like Kyle said, this might be your last session of the day, so hopefully we can give you a little boost of energy because this is a really exciting topic to all of us. But I lead marketing for ESFM, and just recently can say I only support communications at ESFM, which is a nice thing to be able to say. But I've been with the ESFM division for 5 years and been with Compass Group for 9. And had the opportunity to really lead a strategic pivot in the way that we communicate internally and externally at ESFM. And part of that strategy is this partnership, and the success that we've had with that partnership is what we're going to talk about.
Thank you both so much again for joining us on stage. So just to kind of set the agenda for what we're going to talk about, you see in the title there, ESFM was able to reach an unreachable workforce. So what do we mean by that? Well, quite simply what we mean is it's the people that do all the work every day that brings your brand to life. These are your deskless workers. These are FM workers, both hard and soft services. And the reality of their day-to-day is they're not bound to a desk. They're very, very hard to reach. They show up, they do their rounds, their workflow gets interrupted by high-priority work requests. So how do you stay engaged with them? So that story is what we're going to tell. We're going to do a bit of a presentation. ESFM is actually going to walk you through some recognition that they received and talk about their own journey, which I think is really going to resonate with all of you. And then we're going to transition into more of a fireside chat where I will ask some questions. It's going to take it down to a little bit of a deeper level. So again, thank you all for attending. And let's move on to talk about what we both do. So what is Nudge? So quite simply, Nudge is a communication, engagement, and execution platform that enables FM brands to better connect, communicate, and engage with their workforce to deliver on whatever your highest priorities are. So really what we've done is we've digitized that support that your workers need to do great work every day and deliver on your business priorities. So that's what we're about. And David, would love to hear a little bit more about ESFM.
So as I said earlier, ESFM is part of Compass Group. And just to kind of level set in the room, if you look at Compass Group North America and where we deliver facilities management, we break it down into 4 verticals where we exercise. So first is healthcare, then it's education, then what we call our remote and offshore business, and then business and industry. And ESFM services the business and industry aspect of that. In terms of some of our stats, we have over 60,000 associates across North America. We're servicing 33,000 plus clients, and we're operating and servicing about 1.7 billion square feet of business every day.
Yeah, thanks, David. Really, really appreciate that. And just from my time as having the privilege to work with these two people. What I always found interesting, and now that I work with brands from all over the world, is that ESFM manages a lot of their services directly. And it actually makes it, I think, very, very hard because you have that many service lines to effectively reach all of them. And that's where I think technology and infusion and being an innovative leader to bring that in to solve for that challenge has really helped their business, and it's helped us grow how we support other brands in this space. So very excited to actually transition to what Andrew's going to speak to and talk about their journey of how they actually recognized the challenge and then actually solved it and what those business results are.
Thank you. So it's a pretty terrifying stat up there for maybe some of you that 51% of FM workers would like to leave their job. It's not me. I'm not in that 51, so don't worry about that, David. But as maybe many of you have experienced, there's been a lot of challenges in retaining associates over the last couple of years during the pandemic, but that's historic for our industry, right? And what Kyle talked about earlier, where our team isn't tied to a desk, they're not tied to a computer, and being primarily hourly associates, they also don't have a company phone. And when someone doesn't have a company phone or computer, you can't require them to read your communications. So that is a challenge when you need to communicate with them directly. And so what we knew we had to do was get our communications that were really critical to our business into their cell phones. Because while they might be out doing their work every day, while they might be answering high priority tasks, they are carrying a cell phone. Another challenge that we had to overcome was that we all might think that we're telling a really great story or sharing really critical information. In fact, 86% of leaders think that. But what Nudge just told us is that only 59% of people receiving that communication will actually agree that it's relevant. And so it was absolutely critical for us to have a way to do two-way communication. And what we did, because we couldn't require them to read it, was we incentivized them. And so we were able to take this Nudge platform, which was really built for retail. It makes complete sense that if you want to sell more 2-for-1 deals, you educate people behind a register about 2-for-1 deals. They will sell more of them. It makes complete sense. But we knew that we could take this model and take what was important to our business and break down maybe a larger concept into really small bite-sized communications that we could get out to the field and then measure. And what I think is important for anyone, whatever platform you use, whatever communication medium you use or strategy, is that you have your before, you have your communication, you have the after that you capture, hopefully in real time, of knowing that the audience has read it, but then you have to have a business outcome that you measure that against. For us, it was safety. It was employee retention. It was a survey that we do every 2 years that just asks people, essentially, do you like working here? Do you feel connected? Do you feel like you're heard? Those were metrics that we knew we could measure against. What we didn't expect was, in just 1 year, the incredible impact that it made. And those business outcomes from that communication strategy are what led to the award that we received from IFMA a couple of years ago. But what's been so awesome is that year over year, at a time where it's been really hard to keep people, at a time when it's been really hard to feel connected as an organization, as so many people have been going home, is that our retention results are even better. Our engagement's even higher. And so I think for everyone, we know that it's a really critical time to be communicating directly with our associates and capturing that in real time, that feedback.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing success story, and thank you so much for sharing your journey there. One thing I just want to kind of build on there is while we believe Nudge is the best tech in the industry, tech without strategy is nothing. So that's where I really applaud ESFM for recognizing not only did they need tech as an enablement solution, but they also needed to have a business strategy to make sure that the communications that we're sending down were effective, and as Andrea mentioned, were measured and they iterated and they got better, and then those are those results that you see there, and I think they're amazing. So what I'd like to do now is just transition into more of a Q&A, and this is designed to dive a little bit deeper into their journey and then figure out, what's next. We know what you've done, but where are you going? So David, I'm going to start with you. You helm one of the largest FM companies in North America. You represent clients across a wide variety of business verticals. Can you talk a little bit about the old way versus the new way and how the new way helps you deliver on your most important client priorities?
So I think one of the things that was high on my list was safety, and I think you heard earlier about how we've been able to impact our kind of safety performance. Whilst I always think we have a good safety performance, we can always do better, and I know all of us will know when I say goal zero, what we're trying to achieve here. When we first kind of looked at Nudge, and again, it came through the food side of our business as being a retail concept. When we first looked at it, it was like, you know what, we can use this really differently here. And I bet you most of you in the room here, I'll not ask for a show of hands, but I bet most of you in the room here, at some time in your life have stood in front of a group of people and given a toolbox talk or given a safety talk. But how do you know that the people you're giving that safety talk have actually listened to you? So what we did with Nudge is we were able to kind of give those safety talks, and then 2 or 3 days later, send a quiz. I mean, Nudge is all about gamification. It's all about how our associates can earn points for the way they interact with Nudge. So how can we, at the end of a safety talk, give them a quiz so at 2 or 3 days later, we can actually see that they've been able to answer those questions correctly. That means that safety talk has actually been absorbed from them, been understood, and it just makes us feel much more secure that what we're telling them is leading to the right business outcomes for us. So I think it's not only what Nudge was designed to do, but it's actually how Nudge has been able to help us in other areas of our business.
That's great, David. Really appreciate that. So Andrea, this one is for you. You obviously have a massive mandate, not only leading marketing for a 7,000 plus organization, but you also are tasked with supporting the communication strategy. So would love to get your perspective on how important it is to have a well-defined two-way communication strategy, and if you could link it to an actual example where you were to able to roll something out and in fact critical change into the business, that would be great.
I got really nervous about your question until the very end. Then I was like, ooh, I know what my answer is. It's actually a really easy answer for me because it's very personal, which was a rebrand. Last year, we rebranded our company from Euroservices to ESFM. And that two-way communication element to the Nudge platform was actually what led into our new story, our new identity. I asked the field to describe or define what we do in our business and how we support our clients in a statement or in a word that started with E. We were all kind of hung up on keeping E in the name at the front. And just so far in front of every other word was elevate. And so the idea became, or the statement became, elevating solutions in facilities management. And that is the story behind the new name of ESFM. And what was so cool is obviously our frontline associates were a part of a conversation that maybe traditionally is a room full of creatives, and they make a decision and they never even float it to the field. So they were directly part of that. And then when it came down to deploying that new brand, I was able to talk directly to the associates about what was coming. I was able to get feedback about their uniform. I was able to bounce around ideas around like a new business card look. Those are things that just don't happen with hourly personnel across the country. We just didn't really have that opportunity before. So for me, it's probably because it's very personal. It was a big project for me. But for me, it's just a really easy answer that it was such an effective tool to get that buy-in and then have a really effective and very fast mobilization of a new brand because we went to the front line first.
That's an amazing story, and I think a perfect demonstration of having that reach and that bi-directional reach to uncover things like that and other best practices that you can then bring back to better and more effectively manage your business. So David, this one's for you. So congrats again on winning the George Graves Award for Facilities Management Achievement. Amazing story. Part of that was reference that you were able to increase company favorability and also retention. Would love to know on a move forward basis what your strategy is to ensure that ESFM remains a top employer of choice for the FM community.
I think for us, it's back to the people retention. It's the way that we internally promote our people, but more importantly, the way we're actually be able to get the message of who we are and what we do out to our people. Again, many of this in this room, between us, we have thousands and thousands of hourly associates who are actually in the field servicing our clients. And, I think we'd all love to get to each one of them and shake them by the hand and say thank you for what you do for us and ask them how we can help them. Nudge has been able to give us that platform to be able to do that. I mean, across all of the leadership team, we regularly posting videos to Nudge. Just the way in terms of our teams interact with each other through the Nudge app and congratulate their peers for a job well done kind of makes people feel much kind of better in their workplace. I think also under the fact that, as we talked about safety and how we can improve on that as well, but I think it's just been along those lines of having that real-time connection with those frontline associates who we can't just get to every day. And I think that's my priority as we move forward. And as we grow as a business and as the industry grows, again, bringing them in and having them support and be part of the Nudge platform.
That's great. Really appreciate that and respect the vision for what you have to keep that top standing. So Andrew, I think we're coming up close on time here. I'd love to just end with this last question to you. Obviously, it's been a wild couple of years. It's been an ever-changing communication environment. Just curious, what's next for your team's communication needs?
It's been a wild couple of years. It's like, ha ha ha. I mean, especially for communications, it's been a wild couple of years. It's a constant pivot and a constant change. I think what's so important with any communication platform is that it's dynamic, it's moldable, you can plug new ideas in. It can't be a fixed, stuck, off-the-shelf thing because we're not going to keep people engaged. One thing that's unique about ESFM is that we self-perform 80% on average, 80% of the services that we provide across hard and soft services. And we self-perform everything somewhere. So we have an even, I guess, higher risk to losing folks because there are people. It's not a subcontractor. Those are our Compass Group associates, and so we want to pour into them. We want to make them a part of the platform, and so just recently we launched something that was available at Nudge for a long time. That we just launched it recently. That was the group chat function, and for me personally, I love getting all that group chat, like with a team, off of social. It just creates a psychologically safe place to have workplace-related conversations. There is a little bit of that big brother looking over your shoulder feeling for the employees too, so they keep it HR approved, whatever they're talking about, which is great for everybody. But it's also just another way that they stay engaged and they contribute to the conversation. And what's been, I think, really incredible is the amount of best practices that have come out of these interactions, how they're sharing across the country with each other solutions and innovations that they're deploying in the business. And so I think the group chat function and just continuing to leverage just the different, I'll call them plugins, but they're not plugins, but functionalities of this platform. And then also just continuing to recognize their participation in that space in front of their peers on Nudge is going to be something that we really focus on because it'll just keep them engaged. And we already know the results in the first year and since then, that it's good for business.
That's great. Really respect that move forward strategy. So I think that's probably all the time we have for today. Would love to just say thanks again. ESFM, in my opinion, one of the most innovative brands in the space. They were our very first client in the space. And this is what we envisioned 6-7 years ago when we started this partnership. I think the results speak for themselves. So again, thank you so much for joining us and being a partner over the years. If you have any questions, we'll be able to stay behind for a bit. And then we also have a booth set up. We're in the 700 aisle, ESFM is, and we're in the Nudge in the 1500 aisle. And again, we'll also be around here if you have any questions. Would love to share a chat with you all. Thank you so much for coming.